Officer concerning the roof replacement for former Weiss and Gold Range building. Explanation of the proposal. The Planning Department published a request for qualifications for professional service for the design of the roof replacement for former Weiss and Gold Range building. The estimated cost of construction for this project is approximately $400,000. The preliminary estimate. Basic and additional professional services are estimated to be approximately $40,000. 4 firms submitted statements of qualification: Pan American Engineers, KSA, Marrero, Cuvion and Associates, and Ash, Broussard, and Winslet. Pan American Engineers was scored the highest by our committee. Does anybody have any comments? Do I hear a motion
Move.
for Pan American?
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah. Move that we accept Pan American Engineers.
I'll second without objection. We'll recommend the full council. Any other business come before A&E? Without objection, we'll adjourn.
Our second committee meeting this evening, which will convene at this time. Legal Affairs Committee, myself, Lee Rubin, Chuck Fowler, Cynthia Perry. And we have one item on that committee, and that is to consider final adoption of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Alexandria and the Greater Alexandria Economic Development Authority. So this is, you want to give us a little
I did.
overview on this?
I made a slide deck for you guys, and let me give this to Don to place into the record, the draft agreement. There will be no material changes. There are always some technical things. It has all the recitals for the agreement.
I think you already had it.
So we'll start with this. Each of you have one of these, and if there are any extra, the public is welcome. So on page 1, some of this is adapted from the recent DEI and other work that we did hosting. The city hosted several locals and folks from outside in October, and we held that at the Riverview Room, formerly known as Area J, over at the Riverfront Center. We had a good turnout. It was a nice event, and some of that is in here. Also, some of these slides in the deck you've seen in other presentations, but I'll roll through them quickly. So on the first slide, just to give the council some of the vocabulary used by those in the industry. So in the first one, we define a cluster, an industry cluster, and an innovation cluster. Those things that are related together. So if you want to talk about the main cluster we have here, some people say there are 2 or 3. There has traditionally been one clear cluster recognized, and that is wood and wood-related products as part of this wood basket. If you think about Martin, ROM, all of the things related to that, that would be a cluster. So you have a big industry, and you have the clusters off of the industry. We don't define that. That's what has happened in this area. It's not something the city created or made. It just is. It's historical, and you have a lot of wood around you, and that's what allows that cluster to grow. I have told you a few times that I feel like under a cluster, well, not that I feel like, under a cluster you have where you have competitive advantages. And I feel like the main competitive advantage we've enjoyed has been in health and healthcare related services. So ancillary services to health, allied health, all of those things. But it's not just people directly related to the provision of healthcare and their allied partners. It's all kinds of industries and other things related. Innovation is, of course, what the word we know means, the creation of things new, and then there's a much longer definition. Economic development, as we've talked about, is the expansion of wealth in a community. This is a long textbook definition. I believe economic development should be value-adding. It should bring new dollars in that don't currently exist, and that's an important thing to think about. Resilience is the ability to adapt to threats and other obstacles. And so again, you have a longer economic development definition that you guys can read on your own, but it's basically your ability to withstand obstacles and threats and recover. But it's also very importantly about the future and doing things that future-proof you, make you more competitive, et cetera. On the next slide on the deck, we go through some things that are just some more basic economic development that I would commit to you guys to read at your leisure. Same with the third slide. Basic two components are engaging the markets and the market actors and making sure that you are working on capacity. And the capacity is the ability to which we can make those things happen. So in economic development, it's the development or improvement of community assets so that businesses can succeed. So giving them the ability to succeed. Mr. Rubin, as a coach, you're in that in your other life from here all the time, that this part of capacity building. So importantly, the next slide talks about how do we connect place, how we grow from within, how we set the right local and regional goals, boost trade, invest in people and skills, and that brings us to the part of it on public partnering. Happy to come back to the council and do some of these because I know how much and many questions you get. If you'll turn to this, it says general rules. Looks like this page after public partnering. You will see a definition that the state and others use, which is economic development is primarily a private sector phenomenon. Primarily, not only, but primarily a private sector phenomenon, whereas I would say community development is a community phenomenon that does have a lot to do with government, helping to create quality of life, other partners like the Chamber who's represented here, all of your institutions, et cetera. So in our role in economic development, the government attends to infrastructure needs, but we can also help with education, public sector research and development, transportation, communication, et cetera. Next is a statement on public-private collaboratives, and so again, when you have other time, I would encourage you to read it. GATA largely follows this, as do we. We developed this years ago together in many ways. So you'll see something that looks like that in their grant application, and you'll see this in how we do it. But when people come for money or help, the first thing that they're asked is, okay, who else have you approached? What are you doing in the private sector? How else are you trying to make it where over time your public requests will go down as you build? And so the idea is you seed first and maybe you amortize it down. There are exceptions. Obviously, there are recreation partnerships. There are partnerships in other parts of community development, museums, et cetera, where that partnership may last over time. In other words, it won't be scaled down because it is supplanting or in place of what the city would have to provide for that asset. What's an example? Coughlin Saunders, those kinds of assets, we'd either have to run and fully program, or museums, et cetera, we'd have to run and fully program if we own them, and we own one. Or you get someone who can do it, do the fundraising and operate it themselves. All of those things are subject to your review over time. You can put up RFPs, you can do different things to make sure you're getting the best value for your buck. And part of that is in this statement of that public-private collaboratives and how you partner. One that will be introduced is with Keep Louisiana Beautiful, who are also here tonight. Those are the kinds of things we look at to partner, and you'll see that when it comes up for final adoption. The next one on your deck is directly about GATA, so I'll start on the GATA contract, or the GATA ordinance now. What we are proposing is to go back largely to what we were doing years ago. The way the contract is set up, you would create a cooperative endeavor, or since it's government to government, it's just a type of cooperative endeavor that we might internally call an intergovernmental agreement. So when you hear IGA, it just means cooperative endeavor, but government to government. So if it was with the jury, we would call it an IGA. But all it is a cooperative endeavor. Cooperative endeavors are subject to rules that are largely developed, as y'all hear us talk about, with Article 7, Section 14. Is there a public purpose? Is there an ordinance or a legislation that allows that partnership to occur? That can be from you, it could be a state law, it could be the Constitution itself. And then thirdly, and most importantly, We have the Lieutenant Governor here, everybody. Lieutenant Governor Billy Nungesser is here, and so we'll come to that in a moment. Welcome, Governor. When we talk about that third part of the cooperative endeavor analysis, that would be the commensurate return. It doesn't have to be dollar for dollar. It has to be a real value for a real value. So what does that mean? Well, the Weiss's project is an example. You are approving the roof part of that tonight. That is part of an already budgeted $1.25 million that we would put in a $15 or $16 million project if the public sector and other partners put in all of the other ends. So total project costs estimated at above 15 minus 125. So that's well under that 25% of where I like to be on this type of P3 or public-private partnership. And the questions we would ask are right there again on that page. Identify all your other help. Why do you need the public to help you at all? And then what will you give us in return? What will having this building with at-market housing downtown do for us? And we've talked about what it would do, and you've approved that. So this is sort of a live example of what we're doing there, how it fits in the rules, and most importantly, how it fits in this GATA request, because GATA would be potentially a partner on that project, or is actually a partner on that project. So back to the contract. What you're authorizing right now takes us back to how we used to do it. The general cooperative endeavor will set up a very clear, here's how you do business. The way I see it is 3 buckets. Bucket 1, big projects like Weiss's would come back to you for separate authorizations. Obviously, it would not be covered in the agreement with GATA proper every time. It would have to come back properly as a full request. So if we're going to do, if something were to happen, for example, with that building, unfortunately, I can't tell you something's on the plate because nothing is. If that building had something with the jury and GATA and other partners, that kind of thing comes back to you. That is not something I can authorize under the agreement that you're doing tonight. That's bucket 1. Bucket 2 would be the things that then we can authorize with each other, just like we always did historically with the CVB. Those would take a task order. So those are things you've already budgeted for that we don't have to come back for you to do. If GATA gives $50,000 to one of the FETs, and then GATA wants to put on something, and we from our already budgeted funds and community development want to trade that back, we can do that on signature between the executive director and me. You've always done it that way until, for whatever reason, it stopped this time. That's bucket 2. Bucket 3 would be somewhere in the middle of those. Larger projects that we may do, but not meeting the standard of a Weiss's level project. Obviously, there's just lots of things that can happen in that last bucket that are important. One of them would be using a recent example would be the England Authority. So that one is we would set up, GATA wants to help the England Authority with UCOR. As you know, we went through a whole process where GATA had to come to the realization or agree that it can only fund in the city. However, we want that project to happen. The England Authority touches the city. It's proximate to it. So instead of doing it the way it was objected to, is there another way to do it? That's bucket 3. This is the type of agreement that allows that. So why do it this way as opposed to how we might do it with the jury or with the England Authority? Because GATA is unique. Because GATA is your economic development arm. The England Authority is a separate political subdivision that is not uniquely related to you. The jury is a separate political subdivision. GATA is a separate political subdivision, but is a creature created only by the council and can be theoretically dismantled by the council. So it's unique in that way. There are other authorities that are like that in the state, but not many, not many. So because GATA has that unique role, we propose to go back to this agreement. You have had that agreement in place for over a decade before. Never a single issue with it. It is on a standard format that we use with the state. The governor's, Lieutenant Governor Nungesser's office follows that model. We follow it with other parts of the state. It provides for the deliverables. It provides that items have to be budgeted for and task ordered. And so we would commit that to your favorable passage tonight. The rest of the slide deck, we could go over at another time, but it is useful. We go through the types of things that we can't do that would violate public policy and law. So what are examples? Because we get a lot of requests from the public. Lots of people in the public have great ideas that they want to do. Can you give money to my church? Can you give money to this event we're having? Notably, the Lieutenant Governor is here, who has very unique constitutional powers that he can do a whole lot of stuff in culture and tourism, food, all kinds of things like that that wouldn't be normal for another political subdivision to do. But it's because he has a committed, the Constitution says so. It's as high authorization as you can get. What are the things we can't do? We can't fund political or singularly private enterprises. So we can't just give money to a good idea. We have to go through that analysis we just went through. The private benefit has to be incidental if there is one, and it has to be greatly outweighed by the public benefit. So in a partnership with the Weiss's folks, there is absolutely going to be a private sector benefit to them doing the housing. But their benefit for what they have to put in it versus us is putting that back into commerce, and you already have an obligation to make it safe because it is a danger to be left as it is. You have it outweighed. And so then you have to do that balance. Are we getting a commensurate return? And GATA has elected that it is. Like the Lieutenant Governor, in a way, GATA also benefits from a much more robust and freedom, liberality, if you will, to act in economic development. Why? Because they were statutorily created to do economic development. So as long as we get this comparable return, we're able to do it. We can't do straight donations. The city cannot write a check as a straight donation. You could. You may visit the legislative auditor or go to jail. It could be one or the other, or both. But something can happen. You can't use public resources to make a private living. Lots of people have ideas about sports complexes and what they could do. Again, you could turn over a complex that way, but you would get into some trouble. And as you know, we have a whole system for how you grade that out. It has to be the public benefit first before those partnerships. Okay, so that's the general outline of that contract. The last page of the strategic actions we proposed with it. I won't read through those. These are all things we've covered during the budget process. I just wanted to make sure that we're not, because of all the controversy prior, that I'm putting in the record for your benefit the reason that this contract is great. I think everybody agrees. We've had some great meetings with GATA. It looks like we're, knock on wood, on the same page finally.
Is this basically a reinstatement or a restatement of the original, or was there an original
Yes.
intergovernmental agreement?
This is a return to the one we operated under
Okay.
for at least a decade of time when I was serving.
There's a few minor changes, you know.
If anything, I would say it makes us have to come back to, it doesn't, it's not more liberality, it probably is a little less,
Less.
but roughly the same.
So before anything can be done, it has to come from the council.
If it's in bucket 1 or 3, in bucket 1, any big project does, because that would authorize other activities. Or you would already have an ordinance to authorize the partnership, like you do for Weiss's. We're already authorized to partner with GATA and other folks. So if it's in bucket 1, it has to come back. Bucket 2 doesn't, but you've already provided for that because it's budgeted for in Tanya's budget or in GATA's budget. So that's the trading of already budgeted for community development dollars, if you will, or community services, rather, dollars, Ms. Perry, that we already can do, but we do it through each other for various reasons.
Okay, and like in the fact sheet where it states that renovation, development, and capital improvement, as well as funding for programs, festivals, and so on. So if it was a capital improvement project.
Comes to you.
Okay, and so as well as with the funding of programs like for youth and different projects like that.
So depends on the size, but if it's not budgeted for, must come back to you. If it's budgeted for, bucket 2. Programs, we are much more nimble and can move along with each other, as we always did, within budgets.
Okay.
I move.
Can I have a second?
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
This
Thank you.
will be considered by the full council. And that concludes our committee meeting.
Okay, we'll get started now with our regular council meeting. I guess Reddick's not here.
Reddick's mother is in the emergency.
Oh, okay. Okay. Since it's Veterans Day, will you say the pledge for us? Well, since it's almost Veterans Day.
Thank you.
Hold up, Jim. Hey, Jim.
I'm holding.
Jim.
It's in the car.
Okay.
It's in the car.
That's all. You said a prayer. Okay. I'd like to call to order this Alexandria City Council regular council meeting, Tuesday, November 12th, 2024, City Council Chambers, approximately 5 o'clock. Persons desired, council shall inform the president properly agenda items. Call to order. City Council, Alexandria City Council meeting and council committee meetings are broadcast live and may be viewed live by the public on Optimum Cable Channel 4. A rebroadcast may be viewed on Optimum Cable Channel 4 and the City of Alexandria, Louisiana website, www.cityofalexandria.com. The invocation be said by Ms. Felter, the pledge be said by Mr. Johnson. Please stand.
Join me in prayer. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for gathering us together so that we can use our talents, our brains, and all of the things that you've gifted us with to do what's best for our city. Give us the discernment to know what we should do, and we thank you that we have such a wonderful city and wonderful people to represent. Allow us to be good stewards of this position so that we are honoring you. Here I pray. Amen.
And
Before we say the pledge, I wanted to say a prayer for Reddick's mom. She just had a major stroke. He's at the hospital with his mom. So y'all put Reddick's in y'all prayer. Let's say the pledge. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, Ms. Clerk.
Ms. Felter.
Here.
Ms. Perry.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Fowler. Mr. Washington. Mr. Rubin.
Here.
Mr. Valord.
Here.
President here. Oh,
Before we get started, I'd like to recognize our Lieutenant Governor here, Mr. Billy Don Gasper. You'd like to say a few words?
Yes.
Should I talk now about why I'm here?
Yeah.
Oh, just say thank you.
So may we borrow your privilege, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so on behalf of the President of the Council, borrowing his personal privilege, since I'm not a member of the council, let me say, on the first reading, which the Lieutenant Governor will understand, we call it introduction.
You're right.
Legislature would be a first reading. You may not talk about the item,
Right,
right?
correct.
So none of you can talk about it. However, he's the governor, he can talk about it.
Lieutenant Governor, yeah.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, thank you. I wanted to thank your efforts. I just completed my first letter summit in Shreveport. We'll be doing the same thing here tomorrow. I want to thank the mayor and you for supporting the efforts to clean up Louisiana. It's so important. I've been working on this for many years. I'm here with Susan Russell, who is now a state employee. We moved all of the Keep Louisiana Beautiful employees under my office. We have a nonprofit group that's raising money to give more grants to your communities. But your efforts to work with the chamber to put somebody in charge of litter will change your community forever. In every parish, in every city where this is done, where someone is focused on litter, we've seen it change the appearance of the city. And it's not only important to our quality of life and tourism, but it's important to your economic development. I remember back when the president of Nissan stood up in New Orleans and said, I've got bad news today, we're not going to locate here in New Orleans East. And he listed a couple, but the reason that stood out to me was, he said it's a dirty, very dirty city. And I don't want my employees living in this area where you don't care to keep your city clean. And they went to Jackson, Mississippi. So it's economic development, and this place is too beautiful not to clean it up. We've We've got a lot of programs, but your efforts today, and Mayor, your commitment to a clean city is invaluable. 90% of Louisiana wants it cleaned up, and only 20% of the people litter, and we pay the price for it. So I look forward to partnering with you. There's absolutely nothing I won't do to help you in your community, not only litter and tourism. I love this city, and thank you for your efforts for partnering with the chamber to make this happen. Thank you so much.
Would you like to introduce?
Susan, you want to come up? Just 1 minute. You think I talk long? Some it went an hour long today.
I know. I've been told I have a tendency. I get just very, this is an issue I'm passionate about. So becoming an affiliate of Keep Louisiana Beautiful, you're joining a family of 40 other community affiliates throughout our state and 12 university affiliates. So not only are you getting your affiliate here locally, but you're also getting a family of support. And we train, we provide resources and programs, and you get kind of dialed into what's going on in every other part of the state, what's working, right, what's not, and we're all in this together. So we're here to support y'all. Welcome, and we're just thrilled to have y'all on board. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we can't discuss it yet, but this is about putting a permanent person in partnership with Deborah and the chamber over there, and so we'll talk about that next week?
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
2 weeks.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor.
And I want to say, the Lieutenant Governor and I spoke in Century Drugs, and he's so passionate, about things that he wants to help this city with. And for that, I want to thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay, E, approval of minutes taken from a regular meeting held on October 29th, 2024.
Move.
Second.
You got one. Moved by Mr. Rubin, second by Mr. Fowler.
Thank you, Governor.
Public comment? Mr. White?
The only thing, like I said, I just wish we had more public comment. Now, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. F, consent calendar. 1, introduction of ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for underground electrical contraction units and hourly price of electrical distribution department. 2, introduction of ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for spare parts for DG Hunter Unit 5 through 11 for the Warzilla Electric Production Engine and generators. 3, introduction of ordinance authorizing the mayor to renew the contract with the Lot Oil Company for petroleum products and chemical additives for the Warzilla engines at DG Hunter Power Plant. 4, introduction of ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional service agreement for the roof replacement at the former Weiss and Grovings building. 5, introduction of ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement with the City of Alexandria and the Central Louisiana Regional Chamber of Commerce and the Central Louisiana Regional Chamber of Commerce Foundation.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Rubin, second by Mr. Fowler.
Committees, any? G, resolutions. Resolution authorizing advertisements for bids for the statewide flood control capital improvement project, Augusta Avenue, Fairgrounds Machine Shop flood control.
Moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Mr. Johnson.
Public comment?
I just want to say, I'm excited about this resolution. Saturday, my husband and I, after the rain, we went through different communities, and we went to several homes, and the water had got into the people's homes on Augusta Street. You couldn't go down Jones Street, you couldn't go down Augusta Street, you could barely come up you couldn't go down Eddie Williams Road. So I'm excited about this project to make sure that we get everything done that needs to be done to clear up the flooding in that particular area.
Thank you, Ms. Perry. And it is $2.5 million. I think 90% is from the federal government.
Yes.
Mr. White?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Cornelius Lawson White Jr., 3638 10th Street, 71302. My phone number is area code 318-446-6934. Mrs. Perry, I saw you, and I didn't see your husband, but I saw y'all's vehicle, so you were riding around in the area trying to make sure we were safe and everything. And congratulations on your win. I think Mayor Hall got a lot of this money when he was in office, and I don't know why it's taken so long to finally get this project underway for some reason. And also, News Channel 5 had been warning for days to a week that there was going to be a flooding event. And I just want to know from the city council or from the mayor, we didn't have no sandbags put out. I didn't see any city trucks riding around clearing these drains out.
Mr. White, this is for the authorizing of the bid.
I know,
This
but
is all it's for.
it needs to be said.
This is what it's for, Mr. White, it's authorizing the
Okay.
bid, sir.
I know, you don't like the public to speak.
Thank
I don't want to get beat down.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Villar, just for a point of clarification, Mr. White takes the mic,
Yeah.
and he makes a lot of misrepresentations of the truth. Actually, I authorized unlimited overtime for the entire event. The response by the city, bar none, was as good as you can get. As a matter of fact, when we present the data on, Ms. Perry said flooding, there was 2 houses to 3. I went to, and I know the persons who live in it, and I interviewed at one. The other one is a person that works at the city, so I know him well. It's just not true. As a matter of fact, in a record rain for 12 hours, there were not flooded structures. When I went to Spencer Street, which I went and checked and talked to the residents, they did not take water at the second lowest or lowest point in the city. The lowest I also went to and checked, they didn't either. So in a record event, your investment in project cleanup, that major capital project you did more than anything. I hate to say it, but this Augusta project will be great, but it would never stop water in the streets in a rain event where you have 7 to 8 inches in 12 hours. Because there's no amount of infrastructure that can move the water from hitting impermeable surfaces that fast. It's a volumetric question. So that's not true. Lastly, there was a case that was just heard. Mr. White was found guilty. You need to know that. To say he was beaten down is not true. And you cannot continue to allow your meetings to be hijacked with things that are not factual. It's using Channel 4 to mislead people, and there has to be some control and decorum taken back about it. So just correcting the record on those 2 items on your behalf, as I promised you I would do.
I want to say
May I
something.
respond
I want
to
to say
that?
something.
No, sir.
Oh,
I
I
wanna
don't have
say
a right
something.
to speak?
No, sir.
No, sir, you don't.
Okay, thank you. I don't want to get beat down again, so I'll take
You had never gotten beat down.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, sir.
It's okay.
Okay.
I want to say something about the rain on last week. The pumps in Morton Park worked. The water was coming down, and I made it almost to the pump, but the water got close to my boot, and I panicked, and I hopped off. But it was coming up pretty fast. Yeah, the pump only pumped so much out. But within about 40 minutes, I went back out, and the water had.
That's
Yep.
the right time.
So, let's learn from me. Don't go out there when the rain first starts, just wait for a
Right.
little while. But the pump in Morton Park works.
Gary, I interviewed the same persons that Ms. Perry's talking about, and she was saying, I went and watched it, and, I watched it, it started receding. And so in a citizen's mind, any amount of water's too much.
Right.
Jackson Street scares you to death. All of those things happen.
It's scary.
But when I can hear someone say that they visually saw water recede, they were able to wait and watch it move, that tells you. And I know from Bayou Henson behind my house that it was completely back within the channel in an hour and a half or so. So that tells me a lot, because I live at a high point in the city. If you see that bayou do what it does and go down, that means your drainage is working. If you see Jackson Street inundate very fast and then go down fast, that means it's working. It's just volumetric. If we have a bowl, we punch 100 holes in the bottom and I pour the water in, it'll go out. If I dump the whole pitcher at one time, it will overtop. It doesn't matter how many holes you put in the plate or the bowl. And that happens in the real world. That's what happened here. I did not get the calls we normally get, or not normally, that we got in Gustav. But if you compare this rain in a So there's a rule about that too in Title
Yeah.
42, and that's not allowed. If we compare this rain in a 12-hour period, I'm anxious to see. I'm going to have Mr. Convica do a project for us and look, but I'm going to suggest to you, this was a record rain. I'm going to also suggest the movement of water after is record too.
Yeah.
So thank you for the investment in Operation Clean Out. It worked.
It definitely worked.
Well, can I
Well,
respond?
No, sir,
Wait.
no, sir.
All in favor?
Discussion's over. Public comment's over.
It's not-
All in favor?
Yes, sir.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 7, resolution authorizing the mayor to declare Tuesday, December 24th, 2024, Thursday, December 26th, 2024, and Tuesday, December 31st, 2024, a city holiday.
Moved by Mr. Fowler, second by Ms. Belcher.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Ordinance for final adoption. 8, to consider final adoption of ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for Kisatchie 24-inch bypass Phase 1. The administration requested that this item be delayed for 2 weeks.
Moved by Mr. Fowler,
Second.
second by Mr. Johnson.
I need okay, this is a motion to delay it for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Discussion, all in favor? Motion carries. Number 9, consider final adoption ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept the low bid submitted for treated wood poles.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Rubin, second by Mr. Fowler.
Discussion, Ms. Bell?
On the treated wood poles, I see that Stella Jones will be awarded this project. And I also looked up that utility poles, telephone poles, or whatever, the chemical that would be used is Cresto. And from my Googling Cresto and what it does and how it affects the environment, I don't know if this company is going to be using that chemical, but it should be stated what chemical they're going to use. Also I also saw transmission class Cresto, Stella Jones. I don't know what transmission class Cresto is, but I do know Cresto can be released into the soil and water, and then can move to underground water. The EPA also states that Cresto, the coal tar Cresto, is likely or more likely to cause harm to humans. So if these poles are being used over this city, and God forbid, if it gets into the soil and in the water, it would take a long time for it to break down. So what is the amount or bid for this project?
This is public comment, this is not question and answer, ma'am.
But the last time you said that if, I still have a minute and 13
Make your
seconds.
comment, ma'am.
I just made my comment,
Okay, thank
Mr.
you.
Villard. First of all, you're not going to get me out of character, because you definitely don't want that. My concern is the chemicals that are being used for these poles that are going to be put in this city. You have people that
Are you
already
for 'em or against
have,
it, ma'am?
do what?
Are you for it or against it?
Miss Bell, Stella Jones is right by my house.
Who?
Stella Jones, the company is right by my house.
Okay.
And I could stop by there and find out, get the information for you that you want to know about the Cresto.
I
the
do.
Transmisto Cresto. I can
Thank you, Ms. Perry.
Okay.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 10, consider final adoption ordinance authorizing the mayor to accept proposal received for Adams Pump Station line renovation.
Moved by Mr. Fowler,
Second.
second by Ms. Felton.
Public comment, Mr. White?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, exactly where is this Adams Pump Station?
Remember, you can ask your questions.
Yeah, I'm
and then-
asking.
But we won't answer it while you're at the podium.
Okay, all right. Now, the mayor said I essentially was lying.
Sir, there's no time
Okay,
for that.
no, I'm
No,
talking
sir.
about the water and everything
No,
like that.
you're not talking
So-
about the Adam Pump Station, sir.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Where is it, and the water, will that help us on flood mitigation?
This is not flood.
That's not for flood?
No.
Well, what's a pump station for?
Maybe pumping water to residents?
Oh, this is
Yeah.
residential water?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I don't know. I gotta ask some questions, find out what's going on.
I think that's what it's for. Discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. 11, consider final adoption ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Alexandria and the Greater Economic Development Authority.
Move.
Moved by Mr. Rubin, second by Mr. Fowler.
Discussion, Mr. White?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I wish y'all would delay this. We may have 2 new members on the council, and so there will be 2 new Gator Board members also. So I would move that the council would remove this item if they would, and wait till the election and find out if we'll have 2 new council members, or if we'll have the 2 same, Mr. Reddix Washington, and we'll be praying for him and his mother, or Lee Rubin, or if we'll have Malcolm or Jules Green. Because that way, it won't be all of this him and hawing and all like that. And we done had enough problems with the Gator Board. Mayor, stop giving them signals to tell them what to do. You need to stop this.
Mr. White.
I have a right to speak, and that's what's wrong. That's why I got beat down the last time.
There's no one giving them signals. I'm nodding because what
You're
you're
not,
saying
you're
is.
giving them signals to tell them what to do, Mayor.
Mr.
Okay?
White,
Everybody can see that on Channel 4 and Optimum Cable. Everybody saw that beat down too, April the 2nd. I was found guilty, but there are other things coming. So I was found guilty, Mayor. You're right.
Thank you.
Mr.
Guilty.
White, do you have comments for the council or just
Yes,
political?
sir, Gator. Okay.
So you
So
would
we
like,
need to wait on Gator till we see who wins the election. This needs to be tabled till after the election. Thank you.
Thank you. Public comment? All in favor? Motion carries. Number 12, adjournment.